Talking about serving your people, what does community means to you?
It means love. It means togetherness. It means watching one another's back. Be your brother's keeper. We used to have that in Nigeria years ago. It just disappeared because of self-centered. We have selfish people now. We have, all the politicians of today are too self-centered. It's all about themselves only. But years ago, we are our own brother's keeper. And that is what is missing. And that's why what we are trying to bring back into the community. Community is about love. It's about serving your people. It's about, watching the backs of others.
Well, do you have to go into politics to serve your people? There are other ways of serving them. Have you been serving your community before now?
Yes, I do. I have been doing a lot of charity work in my area. I did one about 3 years ago, and I came again last year to do another one. And by God's grace, every year I will be doing all these charitable ventures in my area, and hopefully we will be able to expand and extend that into the Ekiti state in general.
But was it that all those charity works you have been doing them because you want to go into politics?
Well, it is not because of that. Because let me first of all tell you this. You need to have the spirit of giving. You need to have the spirit of love. You cannot do all this charity. You cannot do anything if you do not have this love and dedication. And for me to do that, it's a call to service. When I see the way governance is all about in Nigeria, and in particular in my area, it frightens me. It shakes me down to the bone marrow, because people are not, they can't give account of what they do, how they represent their people. But when you see all this, it gives you the motivation, it gives you the drive to want to do it.
Talking about the community service, is it a situation that when God started blessing you and saying that you now have a little that you could give to your community, that was when you started?
Well, I started reaching out to people in my community the very day I stepped my foot on Ijero soil to school there in 1978. I remember my colleagues then that they were less privileged. I would take them back home to my parents, and ask my parents to give them things. Some that my parents have to pay for their school fees, some that my parents have to clothes, So the generosity started not now, but far back, 40 years ago, 42 years ago. And it is still the same me that is reaching out. And by God's grace, I hope to do more in my community.
When they say a servant leader, what does it mean to you?
It's leadership by example. If you want to be a leader, you have to be a servant. And you have to lead by example. Today, we see all of our leaders, all our so-called political leaders, they're not leading by example. They're not giving us the right example to follow. And that's the major problem that we have in our society today. You do unto others what you want others to do unto you. That is not their own slogan. It is, they do anything that they feel they want to do to us. And when you want to do back to them, they cry foul. So, for now, I am ready, I am willing to lead my people by example. And that is what I believe leadership should be all about.
We're talking about leadership by example, talking about leading the people, talking about the politicians disappointing Nigerians. And you live in Ireland. You know how the system works. How and what will you do differently if you were voted and given that trust, that mandate by your people to go and represent them in the Federal House of Representatives? What will you do differently?
Well, I am going to make sure that I impart success, hope, improvement into the life of my people through their educational, health-wise, development of their rural environment, and bringing infrastructures. We can do it even without voting for us, because we have all this in our system. We have it in our blood. We are going to bring in expatriates to invest in our area. Last year, we brought in an agriculturist from Dublin who is ready to invest in agriculture in our area. And I am looking forward to that day when, if I am voted in, with my connection in overseas, in foreign land, I will be able to bring substantial development into my area.
Okay, let's talk about community development and representing your people, since you've started talking about it. You've talked about agriculture. So some of your priorities, if you were voted into power, is to look at how you can grow agriculture in your area.
Yes.
All right, okay. And you talked about community development, infrastructure, education. You can see how education all over Nigeria has decayed. But I do know that you alone cannot really facilitate the improvement of educational standard in your area. So what are you hoping to do when you mention education? Because the way education is now, we talk about poverty in Nigeria. I look at poverty of the mind. That's my biggest problem in Nigeria, because education used to be, even public schools used to be very good in Nigeria. But today, that's not the case. Not with public school, not even with the so-called private schools. So, where do we go from here? How do you collaborate with others to help in bringing back that glory that used to be found in our schools?
Well, educational standard has drastically dropped, not only in Ekiti State, but generally in Nigeria. And it is to do with us all. It is not about the government alone, because I went to a public school. I did my primary school in a public school, and it's just because of the belief that my parents had then in the public school. But today, we see a lot of rich people gambling, because once they have the money, they gamble into education and they build schools. And they do that just because of the economical gain. They don't do it because of improving the standard of the life of the kids. They do it because of what they want to get. By so doing, they do not care what standard or what how they are building the life of the child. That is not their priority. Their priority is their pocket. So it is a misplaced priority in education in Nigeria. And to be able to reverse and revamp the slide, it is a communal thing. You can't do it alone. It has to go right to the root.
The spirit has to be there.
Yes.
We all have to.
Number one, we need a good facility, a conducive one, for the pupil to study in. We see a lot of our primary schools. Let me take it from the basic. A lot of our primary schools, they don't have roof. Some of them, their roofs are leaking. No windows, no good chairs, no good desk to study. With that kind of environment, how do you now think a child will be able to study properly? It won't. So the basic things we overlook. We are tackling the bigger issue that there is a slide, but there are small basic issues that started the slide, and that's what we are not tackling, and we need to see to that. That's the first priority, giving a conducive environment to study. The next thing is, appointing qualified teachers to look after the pupils. Today, all the teachers are sellers. We have
business people,
businessmen. They're businessmen and women in the school. They bring in stuff to sell. Thereby, they do not concentrate on
the education of the children.
Role
of teaching and imparting knowledge.
So, and those little things are there to be addressed. And
how do we address them?
Well, we start from the beginning.
Like you said, through the communal.
Yes, we have to start from the communal effort, educating the people that we need to, all of us have to come together and then facilitate the development again of this slide to gradually grow up back.
I know that in 2017, in collaboration with Miss Nigerian Island, you took about 25 computers to the students. Is that a way of kickstarting that communal effort of helping to upgrade the standard of education in your place?
That is part of it as well. Like I said to you earlier on, there are a lot of things that needs to be addressed, but we cannot address it overnight. It is not something, this thing started 3 or 4 decades ago. It started nose driving, not now. And so, for you now to quickly want to revamp it, it's going to take you a lot of time. To rebuild does take time. And part of the rebuilding was one of the projects that we did last year, where we distributed 25 laptops to 25 undergraduates in the area to help them in their various projects. And that is part of our own little quota that we are trying to bring back into the rural area. So, and I believe that together with the people and together with the help of philanthropists, friends, we can achieve this goal.